The war room of the Zelkari Empire buzzed with activity as holographic displays showed star maps across the galaxy's eastern arm. Commander Vexthul stood before the central console, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he studied the latest reports from their expansion forces. For 300 years, the Zelkari had ruled 14 star systems with absolute authority. Their military might was unquestioned, their technology superior to most species they encountered. When they wanted new territory, they simply took it. When native species resisted, they were relocated or eliminated. It was the natural order of things. But today's report contained something unusual. A small notation about a species called humans, who occupied 3 insignificant planets in what should have been prime Zelkari real estate. The planets had good atmospheric conditions, abundant water, and mineral deposits that would fuel the Empire's continued growth. "Tell me about these humans," Vexthul said to his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Zektar. Zektar activated a hologram showing the 3 human worlds. "Primitive species, Commander. They have basic space travel, simple weapons, and appear to be governed by elected officials rather than proper military hierarchy. Our scouts estimate their total population at barely 2 billion across all 3 planets. And their response to our relocation offer? They refused, sir. Their representative, a human named Jake Morrison, sent back our diplomatic team with what he called a counteroffer. They want us to find somewhere else to expand." The room fell silent. Several junior officers exchanged glances, unsure if they had heard correctly. A species with primitive technology was refusing the generous offer of relocation to planets the Empire deemed suitable for their continued existence. Vexthul's eyes narrowed. They refused? A species that can barely leave their own solar system told the Zelkari Empire to go elsewhere? Yes, Commander. Morrison claimed that humans had already settled these worlds and had no intention of leaving. He also mentioned something about property rights and self-determination. Concepts our translators struggled to interpret. Admiral Kresheval, the Empire's military commander, stepped forward. "This insult cannot stand. We should dispatch a fleet immediately and show these humans the price of defying our authority." But Vexthul held up a hand. "No. Using an entire battle fleet against such a primitive species would make us appear weak, as if we needed overwhelming force to deal with mere humans. We need a more subtle approach that sends the right message to other potential resistors." He turned to his tactical advisor. "What do we know about this Jake Morrison?" "Intelligence suggests he is their primary leader, elected by popular vote rather than appointed by military strength. He appears to be a former soldier who now serves as their diplomatic representative. Our analysis indicates that removing him would leave the humans without effective leadership, making them more willing to accept our generous relocation terms." Vexthul nodded slowly. A precision strike would demonstrate Zelkari superiority while avoiding the appearance of using excessive force against an inferior species. It would also serve as a warning to other worlds that might consider resistance. "Contact the Shadowclaw Assassins Guild," he ordered. "I want their best operatives for this mission." Within hours, 12 figures materialized in the war room's briefing chamber. The Shadowclaw Guild was legendary throughout the galaxy for their perfect success rate. Each assassin was a master of death, enhanced with cybernetic implants and trained in 17 different killing arts. Their leader, Kethvar, stepped forward with fluid grace that spoke of deadly precision. "Commander Vexthul," Kethvar's voice, was barely above a whisper, yet it carried clearly through the chamber. "You honor us with this contract." "The target is simple," Vexthul explained as Morrison's image appeared in the hologram. "One human leader on a primitive world. Intelligence indicates minimal security, basic weapons, and no understanding of advanced combat techniques. This should be routine work for operatives of your caliber." Kethvar studied the image with professional interest. "What do we know of their defensive capabilities?" Lieutenant Zektar stepped forward. "Primitive projectile weapons, basic energy shields, and security forces that appear to be former soldiers with no advanced training. Their technology is at least 50 years behind current galactic standards. Our stealth systems will render you invisible to their detection methods." "Timeline?" asked Nexmore, the guild's infiltration specialist. 6 hours from insertion to extraction, Vexthul replied. Morrison will be eliminated, and you will return with proof of completion. The remaining humans will receive the message that resistance is futile. The assassins exchanged glances. 6 hours seemed generous for eliminating a single primitive target, even accounting for travel time and security bypassing. Most of their contracts against civilized species took less time. Payment? Kethavar inquired. Standard rate plus bonus. For message delivery, Vexthul confirmed. The Empire wants other species to understand what happens when they refuse our generous offers. The guild leader nodded. We accept the contract. Provide us with planetary data, security layouts, and transportation. This human will be dead before their sun sets tomorrow. As the assassins filed out to prepare their equipment, Admiral Kresheval approached Vexthul. Are you certain this approach is sufficient? These humans showed unusual boldness in refusing our offer. Perhaps they have hidden capabilities. Vexthul dismissed the concern with a wave. Boldness born from ignorance, Admiral. They simply do not understand what they face. Once Morrison is eliminated and the other humans see how easily we removed their leader, they will accept relocation gratefully. The preparations took 3 days. The assassin's ship was equipped with the latest cloaking technology, ensuring they could approach the human world undetected. Their weapons were chosen specifically for the mission. Energy blades that would leave distinctive marks. Nanotoxins that would ensure Morrison's death appeared natural at first glance, and recording devices to capture proof of completion. Intelligence. Reports confirmed that Morrison would be at his residence during their planned insertion time. He maintained regular schedules, trusted primitive security measures, and appeared to have no awareness that his defiance had marked him for elimination. Humans, Kethvar commented to his second-in-command as their ship entered hyperspace. Such a waste of time. This Morrison probably believes his rejection of the Empire's offer makes him some sort of hero to his people. At least it will be quick work, replied Vextor. 6 hours seems excessive for eliminating one soft-skinned politician, who relies on primitive guards for protection. As their ship streaked toward human space, neither the assassins nor their Zelkari employers suspected that they were about to encounter a species that had turned survival into an art form and viewed overwhelming odds not as a deterrent, but as motivation. The Zelkari Empire was about to learn that humans had a particular talent for exceeding expectations, especially when someone threatened their freedom to choose their own destiny. The cloaked ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Denver system. Through the viewports, the 12 assassins could see the human homeworld spinning lazily in space, its surface dotted with lights that indicated primitive cities and settlements. Long-range scans showed no advanced defense networks, no orbital platforms, and no sign that the humans had detected their arrival. Kethvar reviewed the mission parameters one final time as his team prepared their equipment. The target, Jake Morrison, would be at his residence for what humans called a harvest festival. Intelligence indicated this was some sort of agricultural celebration that would provide perfect cover for their infiltration. Remember, he told his team as they checked their weapons and stealth gear, we are here to send a message as much as eliminate a target. Make it clean, make it visible, and ensure the other humans understand what happens when they defy the Empire. The ship descended through New Denver's atmosphere, invisible to the primitive radar systems the humans used for detection. Below them, the capital city sprawled across several valleys connected by transportation networks that seemed almost quaint compared to the anti-gravity systems used by civilized species. Lisa Carter stood in the security center of Morrison's compound, studying energy readings that had been bothering her for the past 3 days. As the former head of military intelligence for the Colonial Defense Forces, she had developed an instinct for detecting threats that others missed. Something was coming, and every sensor reading suggested it would arrive tonight. Jake, she called through the communication system, I need 5 minutes of your time. Morrison's voice crackled back through the speaker. Lisa, we have 300 people here for the festival. Can it wait until morning? No, it cannot. Morrison appeared in the security center within minutes, still wearing the casual clothes he preferred for public events, rather than the formal attire most galactic leaders favored. His approach to leadership had always been direct and personal, traits that had served him well when dealing with the various crises the colonies had faced. "What have you found?" he asked, settling into a chair beside Lisa's workstation. She pointed to the energy readings displayed on her screens. 3 days ago, we started detecting unusual power signatures at the edge of our sensor range. They appear and disappear in patterns that suggest advanced stealth technology, far beyond what any neighboring species possess. Morrison studied the data with the analytical mind that had made him an effective military strategist before entering politics. The Zelkari response to our refusal? That would be my guess. The energy patterns are consistent with what our intelligence services believe their military uses for cloaking systems. How many ships? Single vessel, but the power reading suggested is carrying something more sophisticated than a diplomatic mission. Morrison was quiet for several moments, considering their options. The colonies had always known that rejecting the Zelkari offer carried risks, but they had hoped their remote location and apparent primitiveness would make them a low priority for retaliation. "Recommendations?" he asked finally. Lisa activated additional displays showing the compound's defensive measures. "I have already placed our security teams on high alert. Every guard tonight is a veteran with combat experience, and I have distributed the new energy weapons we reverse-engineered from those Zelkari scout ship components. You think they are coming tonight?" The festival provides perfect cover for an infiltration team. Large crowds, divided attention, and most importantly, you will be in a predictable location at a known time. Morrison nodded. He had learned to trust Lisa's instincts during their years serving together in the colonial military. If she believed an attack was imminent, preparations needed to be completed immediately. The Shadowclaw assassins landed their ship in a remote valley 20 kilometers from Morrison's compound. Their insertion was flawless, with no indication that human sensors had detected their approach. According to their intelligence, they now had 4 hours to reach the target, complete the elimination, and return to their ship for extraction. They moved through the darkness with deadly efficiency, their enhanced vision and stealth technology making them invisible to human detection methods. The journey to Morrison's compound took less than an hour, and they encountered no patrols or security measures during their approach. "Primitive," whispered Nexmore as they studied the compound from a nearby hilltop. "Their perimeter defenses are basic energy barriers and motion sensors that our equipment can easily bypass." Kethvar divided his team into 3 groups as planned. Alpha Team would approach from the east, Beta Team from the west, and Gamma Team would provide overwatch and extraction support. The elimination itself should take no more than 30 minutes once they penetrated the compound. But as Alpha Team moved into position, they encountered their first surprise. The guards they expected to find were not the ceremonial security forces described in their intelligence reports. Instead, they faced humans who moved with the confidence and awareness of experienced soldiers. "Contact," one of the guards called softly into his communication device. "I have movement on the east perimeter, 3 figures using some kind of optical camouflage." The assassin who had been spotted froze in disbelief. Human technology should not have been capable of detecting their advanced stealth systems, yet somehow they had been identified before reaching the compound's outer barriers. Lisa Carter's voice came through the security network with calm authority. "All units, we have confirmed hostile infiltration. Rules of engagement are weapons-free. These are not friendlies." Alpha Team found themselves facing human soldiers who seemed to anticipate their every move. When they attempted to use their energy weapons, the humans responded with tactics that suggested extensive knowledge of alien combat techniques. More disturbing was the realization that human weapons, while appearing primitive, were remarkably effective against Zelkari personal armor. Within 15 minutes, 3 members of Alpha Team were down, captured by humans who demonstrated an unsettling ability to adapt their tactics in real time. Their advanced equipment had been turned against them by soldiers who seemed to understand alien technology better than the intelligence reports had suggested. Beta Team attempted to maintain the mission timeline by approaching Morrison's location while Alpha Team was compromised. They infiltrated the main building and moved toward the target's last known position, expecting to find a soft politician surrounded by ceremonial guards. Instead, they encountered Jake Morrison himself, armed with a human projectile weapon and accompanied by 2 security personnel who moved with military precision. Morrison showed no fear when facing alien assassins, instead displaying what they would later describe as tactical awareness that belonged on a battlefield rather than in a politician's residence. "Gentlemen," Morrison said calmly as he raised his weapon, "I believe you have made a serious mistake in your career planning." The brief firefight that followed demonstrated that humans possessed something the Zelkari intelligence services had not anticipated: the ability to function effectively under pressure while maintaining clear tactical thinking. Beta Team found themselves outmaneuvered by opponents who seemed to treat the encounter as a challenging puzzle rather than a life-threatening situation. By the time Gamma Team attempted to extract the surviving assassins, 6 of the 12 were in human custody. The remaining 6 found themselves hunted through the compound by security forces that appeared to be enjoying the challenge of tracking alien intruders. As dawn approached, Keithvar realized that what should have been a simple assassination had become a complete mission failure. Worse, the humans had captured half his team along with their advanced equipment and were showing every sign of being able to understand and replicate Zelkari technology. The Empire had sent 12 elite assassins to eliminate 1 human leader. Instead, they had provided the humans with both advanced technology and clear evidence of Zelkari hostile intentions. Morrison was not only alive, but now possessed everything he needed to justify whatever response the humans chose to make. In the security center, Lisa Carter smiled as she reviewed the intelligence gathered from captured equipment. The Zelkari had just made the mistake of underestimating a species that had turned adaptation and improvisation into survival skills. The real question now was what message the humans would send back to the Empire. The sun rose over New Denver to find the Morrison compound transformed into a center of intense activity. In the hours following the failed assassination attempt, teams of human technicians had begun the careful process of examining captured Zelkari equipment, while security forces continued hunting the 6 remaining assassins who had escaped into the surrounding countryside. Jake Morrison stood in his study, still wearing the tactical vest he had put on during the night's events. Around him, displays showed real-time updates from search teams, analysis reports from the captured alien technology, and communication requests from every major human settlement across the 3 worlds. Lisa Carter entered carrying a steaming cup of coffee and a tablet loaded with preliminary intelligence reports. "The good news is that our cyber warfare teams have cracked their communication protocols," she said, setting the coffee beside Morrison's workstation. "The bad news is what we learned from those communications." Morrison accepted the coffee gratefully before reviewing the information on her tablet. What he read made him sit down heavily in his chair. "This was not a military operation. They hired assassins." "Correct. The Zelkari Empire considered eliminating you so routine that they contracted the work to a guild rather than using their own forces. According to intercepted communications, they expected the entire operation to take 6 hours. 6 hours to eliminate me and convince 3 billion humans to abandon their homes." Lisa nodded grimly. The captured assassins have been quite talkative once they realized their employers viewed them as expendable. "Apparently, the Zelkari consider us so primitive that killing our elected leader would immediately result in surrender and compliance with their relocation demands." Morrison was quiet for several minutes, considering the implications of what they had learned. The assassination attempt represented more than personal danger. It revealed the Zelkari Empire's complete contempt for human civilization and their assumption that humanity would collapse at the first sign of superior force. "What is the status of our missing visitors?" he asked, referring to the 6 assassins still at large. "Danny Walsh and his team have been tracking them through the communication devices in their equipment," Lisa replied with a slight smile. Apparently, Zelkari security protocols are impressive until someone with a background in human computer systems decides to treat them like a particularly interesting puzzle. Danny Walsh had been the colony's leading expert in adaptive technology, long before the Zelkari arrived. His specialty was taking alien equipment and modifying it for human use, a skill that had proved invaluable as the colonies encountered other species during their expansion into space. He has not only located their ship but gained access to its navigation systems, communication arrays, and most importantly, its database of Zelkari military capabilities, Lisa continued. We now know more about their fleet strength, base locations, and tactical doctrines than they probably realize. Morrison reviewed the intelligence data with growing amazement. In less than 12 hours, human technology specialists had accomplished what should have taken months of dedicated intelligence gathering. The combination of captured equipment, intercepted communications, and pure human ingenuity had provided them with a complete picture of the threat they faced. Recommendations? Morrison asked. Lisa activated a holographic display showing the 3 human worlds and their defensive capabilities. The Colonial Defense Council is requesting an emergency session. General Patricia Hayes and Admiral Ben Cooper are already en route from the outer colonies. They believe we need to respond to this assassination attempt in a way that makes our position clear to both the Zelkari and any other species that might be watching. What kind of response? The kind that ensures no one underestimates humanity, again. Within 6 hours, the Colonial Defense Council had convened in the underground conference facility beneath Morrison's compound. The room contained the leadership of humanity's 3 worlds, military commanders, civilian administrators, and the scientists and engineers who had built their civilization from nothing. General Hayes, a woman whose reputation for tactical innovation was known throughout human space, presented the situation with characteristic directness. The Zelkari Empire has declared war on us in all but name. They hired assassins to eliminate our elected leadership and expected us to surrender immediately afterward. This cannot stand. Admiral Cooper, commanding officer of the small but effective human fleet, added his analysis. Our captured intelligence indicates the Empire has significant military advantages in terms of numbers and individual ship capabilities. However, they also reveal critical weaknesses in Zelkari tactical thinking and over-reliance on technological superiority. Morrison listened as his advisors outlined the strategic situation. The humans faced an empire that controlled 14 star systems and possessed military technology decades ahead of current human capabilities. Under normal circumstances, resistance would be futile and surrender the only rational choice. But the assassination attempt had revealed something important about their opponents. The Zelkari had made the classic mistake of judging human capabilities based on human technology rather than human adaptability. They had also demonstrated a complete lack of understanding regarding human psychology and the way humans responded to direct threats. What are our options? Morrison asked. Dr. Susan Blake, the colony's leading expert in psychological warfare, stepped forward. We have an opportunity to respond in a way that transforms this situation from a simple military conquest into something the Empire is unprepared to handle. The assassins they sent provide us with the perfect means of sending our own message. She activated displays showing the 6 captured assassins and their equipment. These individuals represent the elite of their profession, contracted by the Empire to eliminate you as a demonstration of Zelkari power. We propose returning them to the Empire in a condition that demonstrates human capabilities. Meaning? Morrison prompted. General Hayes smiled grimly. We have retrofitted their armor with thermal charges originally designed for mining operations. When activated, these devices will cause their equipment to burn bright enough to be visible from space. We intend to send these assassins back to the Zelkari homeworld as living messages. Danny Walsh, who had been monitoring communications from the remaining 6 assassins still at large, looked up from his equipment. The ones we have not captured yet are listening to every word through their communication devices. They know exactly what we plan to do with their colleagues. Morrison understood immediately. The psychological impact would extend beyond the Empire's leadership to include every member of the Assassin's Guild and anyone else who might consider underestimating human resolve. How long until we can implement this response? Morrison asked. Admiral Cooper consulted his tactical displays. Our captured intelligence includes the location and access codes for their ship. We can have the 6 captured assassins loaded aboard and programmed for automated return to the Zelkari homeworld within 12 hours. And our message to the Empire? General Hayes activated a recording device. I will personally deliver our response to their assassination attempt. The message will be simple but clear. The Zelkari Empire sent 12 assassins to kill 1 human. We are sending them back to kill their confidence in this war. As the council members dispersed to implement their decision, Morrison remained in the conference room with Lisa Carter. Outside, search teams continued tracking the remaining 6 assassins who now knew exactly what fate awaited them if they remained on New Denver. Do you think this will work? Morrison asked. Lisa considered the question carefully. The Zelkari expected us to collapse when faced with superior force. Instead, we are about to demonstrate that humans respond to threats by escalating in ways our opponents cannot predict or counter. That message alone might prevent this conflict from spreading beyond our 3 worlds. And if it does not, then we will have established our reputation as a species that fights back regardless of the odds. Sometimes reputation is more valuable than actual military strength. As night fell over New Denver, the remaining 6 assassins watched from hiding as their captured colleagues were loaded aboard their own ship, unconscious but alive, with human thermal devices attached to their armor. The sight would haunt them for years to come, a reminder that they had underestimated an opponent who turned every attack into an opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities. The Zelkari Empire was about to receive a message they would never forget. The Zelkari homeworld of Vexithara had not seen warfare in over 2 centuries. Its sky had been clear of enemy vessels for so long that most citizens no longer looked up when ships approached from space. So when 6 points of brilliant light streaked across the night sky like burning stars, every living being on the planet stopped to witness the spectacle. In the capital city's central plaza, thousands of Zelkari citizens pointed upward as the lights grew brighter, their thermal signatures visible even through the planet's atmospheric filters. The display was impossible to ignore, designed to be seen from every major population center on the planet's surface. Commander Vexthal stood on the observation deck of the Imperial Command Center, watching the light show with growing dread. Emergency communications had already confirmed what he feared. The 6 burning objects were the Shadow Claw assassins, returned from their mission in a condition that spoke volumes about human capabilities. Report, he ordered as his staff rushed to analyze the incoming vessels. Lieutenant Zektar consulted his instruments with shaking hands. The ships are broadcasting human communication frequencies, Commander. The assassins are alive but unconscious. Their armor has been modified with thermal charges that appear to be controlled from human territory. Recovery teams? Standing. But Commander, Zektar hesitated before continuing. There is also a message addressed to you personally. Vexthal closed his eyes briefly, knowing that whatever the humans had sent would fundamentally change the Empire's understanding of the species they had attempted to eliminate. Display it. The holographic image of General Patricia Hayes materialized in the center of the command room. Even without understanding human facial expressions, every Zelkari present could sense the controlled anger and absolute confidence in her bearing. Commander Vexthal, the recording began. I am General Hayes, of the Human Colonial Defense Forces. The Zelkari Empire sent 12 elite assassins to kill 1 human. We are sending them back to kill your confidence in this war. The message paused while Hayes consulted what appeared to be intelligence reports. We now know the locations of your 14 military bases, the strength of your fleets, and the tactical doctrines your commanders prefer to use. We have reverse-engineered your communication systems, your stealth technology, and your personal armor designs. Vexthal felt his stomach sink as the implications became clear. In less than 24 hours, the humans had accomplished intelligence, gathering that should have taken their best operatives months to achieve. Consider this our formal declaration, Hayes continued. Humanity does not surrender to threats. We do not relocate when ordered. We do not collapse when our leaders are attacked. Instead, we learn from every attempt to harm us and use that knowledge to demonstrate why such attempts are unwise. The recording shifted to show technical diagrams that Vexthul recognized as classified Zelkari military equipment. The humans had not only captured and analyzed the assassin's gear, but understood it well enough to create detailed schematics. Your assassins are being returned unharmed as a demonstration of human restraint, Hayes concluded. The thermal charges attached to their armor are not weapons but messages, designed to ensure every citizen of your empire understands that humans possess both the capability and creativity to respond to aggression in ways you cannot anticipate. The recording ended with a final statement that sent chills through every Zelkari in the command center. The Empire believed we were primitive. This was your first mistake. It will also be your last. Recovery teams reached the landed assassins within hours. Medical scans confirmed they were alive and uninjured, but their equipment told a different story. Every piece of Zelkari technology had been modified with human devices that demonstrated an understanding of alien engineering that bordered on intuitive. Kethvar, the assassin leader, regained consciousness as medical teams removed the thermal charges from his armor. His first words were a request to speak with Commander Vexthul immediately. "Commander," Kethvar said as he was brought before the Empire's military leadership, "we failed completely. But failure is not the problem you should be concerned about. Explain." Kethvar's report painted a picture of human capabilities that contradicted every intelligence assessment the Empire possessed. They knew we were coming days before our arrival. Their security forces anticipated our tactics and countered them with strategies that suggested extensive knowledge of Zelkari. Combat techniques. Their technology, Admiral Kreshval asked. Primitive in appearance, devastating in application. They appear to possess an unusual ability to analyze alien equipment and immediately understand its weaknesses. More disturbing, they seem to enjoy the process of reverse engineering superior technology. Vexthul studied the captured human modifications to Zelkari equipment. The thermal charges were crude by Empire standards, but demonstrated an understanding of energy systems that should have taken years of study to achieve. "What is your assessment of their military capabilities?" he asked. Kethvar was quiet for several moments before responding. "Commander, we face a species that views overwhelming odds as motivation rather than deterrent. Their leader, Morrison, showed no fear when confronting armed assassins. Their security chief demonstrated tactical awareness that belongs on a battlefield, rather than protecting a politician. And their response to our infiltration? They treated it as an interesting problem to be solved, rather than a life-threatening crisis. When we attempted to escape, they hunted us with what I can only describe as enthusiasm for the challenge. Reports from the 6 assassins who had remained at large painted an even more disturbing picture. They had spent days evading human search, teams that seemed to anticipate their every move while simultaneously listening to communications about the fate of their captured colleagues. The humans wanted us to know what they planned, one survivor reported. They allowed us to observe their capabilities while making it clear that our capture was a matter of their choice rather than our skill. Intelligence analysts worked through the night to assess the implications of the failed assassination attempt. What emerged was a profile of humanity that challenged every assumption about primitive species and their likely responses to superior force. Dr. Vexishal, the Empire's leading expert in alien psychology, presented his findings to the War Council. Humans appear to possess cultural traits that make them extremely dangerous opponents. They do not respond to intimidation with submission, but rather with increased determination to resist. Meaning? Vexithul asked. They view attacks on their leadership not as demonstrations of superior power, but as challenges to be met with creative responses. The assassination attempt did not weaken their resolve. It provided them with motivation and justification for whatever retaliation they choose. Admiral Kreshval studied intelligence reports that painted humanity as a species uniquely adapted for warfare despite their apparent technological primitiveness. What do you recommend? Dr. Vexishal consulted his analysis of human behavior patterns derived from intercepted communications and prisoner interviews. The Empire has three options. We can withdraw from human space and seek expansion elsewhere. We can commit massive military resources to immediate conquest before they have time to fully adapt our technology, or we can attempt diplomatic solutions. And your recommendation? Withdrawal. Humans represent a type of opponent the Empire has never encountered. They adapt quickly, think creatively, and appear to possess an unusual talent for turning their opponents' advantages against them. But as the War Council debated their options, reports arrived of human ships appearing in 3 different star systems simultaneously. Each vessel carried the same message General Hayes had delivered with the burning assassins. But now they were offering it directly to species throughout the galaxy who had remained neutral in the face of Zelkari expansion. The Empire's simple assassination mission had accomplished something they had never intended: uniting humanity and providing them with the technological foundation and moral authority needed to organize galactic resistance against Zelkari dominance. Commander Vexthul realized that 12 elite assassins had been the Empire's greatest gift to their enemies, transforming a minor species into the symbol of effective resistance against superior force. 3 months after the burning assassins streaked across the Zelkari homeworld sky, the galaxy's political landscape had shifted in ways no empire or species had anticipated. News of the failed assassination attempt had spread through criminal networks, trade routes, and diplomatic channels with the speed that only truly shocking events achieve. The Shadowclaw Assassins Guild, previously considered invincible throughout the galaxy's underworld, found their reputation shattered. Contracts that would have been routine 6 months earlier were now declined by clients who questioned whether the guild could handle opponents who might respond with unexpected creativity. More significantly, 17 different alien species had requested formal meetings with human representatives. These were not the major powers that dominated galactic politics, but smaller civilizations that had remained neutral in the face of Zelkari expansion out of fear and lack of alternatives. Jake Morrison stood in the newly constructed diplomatic center on New Denver, reviewing reports from human ambassadors who had been dispatched to potential ally worlds. The facility had been built using modified Zelkari construction techniques, a visible reminder of humanity's ability to adapt alien technology for their own purposes. "Status report," he requested, as Lisa Carter entered with the latest intelligence. "Updates. 19 species have signed mutual defense agreements," she replied, setting down files containing diplomatic protocols that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. "The Kepler Collective has offered to share their advanced sensor technology in exchange for our reverse engineering expertise. The Talmar Confederacy wants human advisors to help redesign their military tactics." Morrison reviewed the agreements with amazement. The assassination attempt had accomplished something decades of traditional diplomacy could never have achieved, demonstrating to potential allies that humans were capable of standing against superior force and winning. "What about the Zelkari?" "Response?" he asked. Lisa activated a holographic display showing current intelligence about Empire fleet movements. Confused and divided, their war council has been meeting continuously since the assassins were returned. Intelligence intercepts suggest 3 different factions arguing over how to respond to our demonstration. The Empire's dilemma was easy to understand. Military doctrine suggested immediate retaliation with overwhelming force, but the humans had already demonstrated their ability to turn advanced technology against its creators. Political considerations favored negotiated settlement, but backing down from primitive humans would damage Zelkari authority throughout their territory. More problematic was the growing evidence that other species were taking notice of humanity's example. Reports indicated increased resistance activities in several Zelkari-controlled systems, with local populations apparently inspired by the image of burning assassins sent home as messages. Admiral Ben Cooper entered the diplomatic center, carrying technical specifications that represented months of intensive development work. "The fleet modifications are complete," he announced with satisfaction. "Every human ship now incorporates adaptive technology based on captured Zelkari equipment." The human fleet had grown from 12 vessels to 47 ships in the months since the assassination attempt. More importantly, each vessel now possessed capabilities that exceeded original Zelkari specifications through human modifications and improvements. Our reverse engineering teams have identified weaknesses in Zelkari design philosophy, Cooper continued. They prioritize individual ship superiority over fleet coordination. Their tactical doctrines assume technological advantages that disappear once opponents understand their equipment. Morrison studied fleet deployment reports that showed human ships positioned throughout the three colonial worlds' defensive perimeter. The formations looked nothing like traditional battle lines, instead resembling the adaptive patterns that had proved so effective during the assassin infiltration. Danny Walsh, who had become humanity's leading expert in alien technology adaptation, joined the briefing with news that would reshape their strategic planning. Commander, we have successfully created hybrid communication systems that allow real-time coordination with our new allies. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not only defended against Zelkari aggression, but created the foundation for a galactic alliance based on shared resistance to imperial expansion. There is more, Danny continued with barely contained excitement. Analysis of captured Zelkari databases reveals that the Empire has never faced coordinated resistance from multiple species. Their expansion strategy depends on conquering isolated civilizations that cannot support each other. Morrison understood immediately. The Zelkari Empire had built their power on the assumption that primitive species would remain divided and helpless when confronted with superior technology. Humanity's response had shattered that assumption and provided a model for effective resistance. General Patricia Hayes arrived from the outer colonies with reports of training programs that were transforming human military capabilities. Every soldier now receives instruction in alien technology adaptation and psychological warfare, she reported. We are also sharing these techniques with our new allies. The combination of human adaptability and alien technology had created something unprecedented, a military force that improved with each encounter, rather than being worn down by superior opponents. As the briefing continued, communication alerts indicated incoming messages from across the galaxy. Species that had never heard of humanity 6 months earlier were requesting information about resistance techniques and alliance opportunities. The Draxel Republic wants to know how we modified Zelkari stealth systems, Lisa reported, reading through diplomatic communications. The Mortal Federation is asking for advisors to help analyze Empire technology they captured during a failed invasion attempt. Morrison realized that the assassination attempt had triggered something far beyond simple military victory. Humanity had become a symbol of successful resistance that was inspiring opposition throughout Zelkari space. Late that evening, as the diplomatic center quieted for the night shift, Morrison received a secure communication from an unexpected source. Commander Vexthul himself appeared on the diplomatic channel, his scaled features showing what humans had learned to recognize as exhaustion and defeat. Representative Morrison, the Zelkari commander began formally. I am authorized to discuss terms for ceasing hostilities between our species. Morrison studied his opponent with interest. The being who had ordered his assassination now sought negotiation, a development that spoke volumes about how dramatically the situation had changed. What terms do you propose? Morrison asked carefully. Withdrawal of Zelkari claims to your 3 worlds in exchange for cessation of your alliance-building activities, Vexthul replied. The Empire is prepared to acknowledge human sovereignty over your current territory. Morrison was quiet for several moments, considering not just the immediate offer, but its implications for the broader galactic situation. Commander, I believe you misunderstand our current position. Explain. 3 months ago, humanity controlled 3 worlds and sought only to be left alone. Today, we lead an alliance of 20 species with combined resources that exceeds several of your military districts. Your assassination attempt did not weaken us. It provided us with the motivation and moral authority to unite others who share our desire for self-determination. Vexthul's expression showed what Morrison had learned was Zelkari confusion. What do you want? Morrison smiled, remembering the fear and uncertainty he had felt when first learning of the Empire's expansion plans. Complete withdrawal of Zelkari forces from the territories of all Alliance members. Recognition of our sovereignty and the right of all species to determine their own futures without Imperial interference. Impossible, The Empire cannot appear weak before other potential resistors. Commander? Morrison replied gently. The Empire already appears weak. You sent 12 elite assassins to kill one human leader and ended up providing us with everything we needed to organize effective galactic resistance. The question now is whether you prefer negotiated withdrawal or continued escalation against opponents who have demonstrated their ability to exceed your expectations. The communication ended with Vexthul requesting time to consult with his superiors, but Morrison already knew the outcome. The Zelkari Empire had built their power on the assumption that primitive species would remain isolated and helpless. Once that assumption proved false, their entire expansion strategy became unsustainable. Standing at his office window, Morrison could see construction crews working on new facilities designed to accommodate diplomatic representatives from across the galaxy. What had begun as 3 small human colonies defending their right to exist had evolved into the center of a growing alliance that challenged the Empire's fundamental assumptions about power and resistance. Lisa Carter joined him at the window, carrying reports of the latest species requesting alliance membership. Jake, do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Zelkari had simply left us alone? Morrison considered the question seriously. We would have remained 3 small colonies, gradually expanding and developing our technology,